Have you ever wondered, do I really need a PI license to be a private investigator? If you said yes, then this video is for you. Welcome to the PI Guide, tips, tricks, and advice for professional private investigators just like you. My name is John Morris. I am a licensed professional private investigator in Colorado. Licensing requirements for private investigators can be quite demanding for sure, but did you know not all PIs have to be licensed? That's right. Most states that require licensing have certain caveats of who has to be licensed and who does not have to be licensed. So let's dig into this with more detail. But first, I have a big question for you. What topics would you like me to discuss here on the PI Guide channel? Go down really quick and let me know in the comments below. And if I use your suggestion, I will probably give you a shout out in the video too. Now, Killian Captures Media left this message for me. Quick question for you. I'm beginning the process of becoming a PI. However, here in Colorado, I see there is the possibility that licensing won't be necessary after 8/31/2021. Could you make a video on these up and coming reforms and how it will affect current PIs and those who want to become a PI? Big question, Killian. Thanks for asking. Before we get to the specifics about Colorado, though, let's go over the list of states that require PI licensing. I will have that list scrolling right here on the screen for your viewing pleasure. You can also go over to the official PI Guide webpage after this video and check out the list in one of my blog posts there. I will leave a link down below for that as well. The big question we should first ask ourselves is why? Why do most states require licensing? Let's go over some of the benefits to licensing in general. Now, I know there are a lot of people that think PI licensing is a waste of time, money, and resources and has no real benefit. And I respect those folks and their thoughts. I am not here to argue the point with them, but I do believe there are some inherent benefits to PI licensing. Let's go over some of those benefits really quick. The first major benefit to PI licensing that I see is directly related to the consumer, our customers, our clients. Most licensing, including what is in effect for about another month here in Colorado, requires every PI to hold a surety bond. Some state licensing also requires private investigators to carry liability insurance as well. Colorado's licensing, which does go away at the end of August 2021, does not require insurance. Usually the requirements are around $10,000 for a bond and $1 million or so in liability insurance. But what is the difference between a bond and insurance, and what is the cost? Liability insurance, folks, protects you and your company should anything go amiss while you are out there working as a PI. Now, every policy is a little different, so I cannot go into great detail as to exactly how it protects you because it will depend on the policy you get and your specific needs. But that liability insurance protects you, the professional private investigator. I highly recommend that you get a policy regardless of licensing requirements. I myself carry liability insurance, always have and always will. Bottom line, if someone sues me, I don't want them going after my private assets like my house, my vehicles, and things like that. And seriously, have you ever heard of any professional business that does not carry liability insurance? Think about it. Do doctors carry insurance? How about attorneys, retail stores, manufacturing companies, or any other business? Yes, there is a cost, but the risk is way too high, in my humble opinion, to not carry liability insurance. So, if the insurance protects you, the professional private investigator, what does the surety bond do? The most simple description for a surety bond is that it guarantees compliance, payment, or performance of work. The bond protects your customers, your clients, the end user of our PI services. So if you get a $5,000 retainer from your client to go out and do surveillance and you never do the surveillance, the client can go after your bond for repayment or refund of their retainer, and then the bond company comes after you for repayment to them. So in essence, the bond is insurance for your clients and customers, while liability insurance protects you and your business. But wait, there is a cost to be sure for these policies and bonds, folks. I am not saying there is no cost. I am not saying it is cheap. But then they are not really that expensive either. From my experience, bonds are usually around $100 a year for a $10,000 bond, and insurance is usually going to be $600 to $900 a year, depending on how much coverage you get. But wait just a second, how do you get this specialized insurance and bonding at an affordable rate? Well, I recommend Surety Insurance, folks. I have been with Surety my entire PI career. I do comparison shopping from time to time. Shh, don't tell them, but I do it. as it is the prudent thing to do. And from my experiences, I have always found them to be highly competitive in cost. Now, I have never had a claim for the bond or for insurance, nor do I ever want one, but I do know that they will have my back if the need ever arises. I will leave a link below for their website if you want to check them out. They specialize in insurance for PIs. Surety is not, I repeat, not a sponsor for this video. I do not get any kickbacks, any discounts or payments. I just know that they have always treated me fairly, and they will do so for you as well. You know what? Bonding protection requirements for the client is not the only plus to PI licensing, though a little on the self-serving side for professional private investigators anyway, is credibility. Carrying that license does tell your clients and your customers that you are state certified. Well, certified at least from the standpoint of the licensing requirements anyway. As a licensed private investigator in Colorado, I can tell my clients I have been vetted through the CBI and FBI fingerprint background check system. Now, while that may seem self-serving, it is also a huge protection for the consumer, folks. Yes, if your state requires licensing, they probably do a very thorough background as well to help ensure that the bad guys do not get into the profession. Now, here in Colorado, licensing goes away at the end of August 2021. I am not going to go into the details about all the politics involved as to why that is so. That is a topic for another video. But suffice it to say, starting September 1, 2021, anyone can hang up their PI shingle here in Colorado. Good guys and bad guys alike, with zero direct protection from the state for the PI consumer. Hang on now. What other benefits do you think there are to PI licensing? Go down in the comments below and let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. How about the negative things licensing can do? Are there any negatives? Well, we kind of hit on one of them as a plus. It was adding credibility to a PI. This also could be looked at as a negative to some folks. For instance, in Colorado, there are two levels of PI licenses, PI1 and PI2. PI1 denotes a less experienced, hours in the industry-wise, private investigator, and PI2 is a more experienced investigator. Now, this could be seen as making an uneven playing field. It could be viewed as making it so newbies have a hard time getting into the PI field altogether. And it could be viewed as making it so PI2s have a strong marketing ploy built right into their license. For sure, folks, it is nicer for me to tell clients I carry the state's highest licensing level for private investigators. But then on the flip side, there is some consumer protection with having these two levels. If I need to hire a PI for a death penalty case, I probably do not want the PI with the 120 hours of surveillance experience. And you know what? That PI1 only has to get 4,000 hours experience to level up and get PI2. I know some states have way more licensing levels and even have certain experience requirements for specific types of investigative work. So having only two levels and the only requirement to move from PI1 to PI2 in Colorado being hours of work, well, it seems to me it was an easy path for a professional to move up in the ranks, level up, and show they're progressing. Seriously, 4,000 hours experience is equal to 2 years of being a PI full-time here in Colorado. You can count time such as process serving, military experience, law enforcement experience, bodyguard, security work, and a lot more towards that requirement. Well, up until September 1, 2021 anyway, when PI licensing and consumer protection ends here in Colorado. Cost can be a deterrent as well for ease of entry into the PI profession. I know some states it costs over $1,000 to get your PI license. Here in Colorado, our last year license was a whopping, hang on folks, you're not going to believe it, it was $16, I think. I know, hardly worth being a PI with those exorbitant expenses. I decided to just pass that cost on to my clients though. Crazy concept, I know. Huge risk there. I had to raise my standard rates from $95 an hour to $95.01 an hour. But hey, that goes away here in a month. Now, if I keep that penny added to my hourly cost, am I price gouging the customer? Will that make me less competitive from the financial standpoint? I will have to evaluate my hourly fees, I guess. Let's get back to Killian Capture's question. Killian is in the early stages of becoming a PI here in Colorado. He asks a very good question. How will having no license requirements in Colorado affect current PIs and those who want to become a PI? Well, to the latter, it is of great benefit for those who want to become a PI, as there will be absolutely nothing to stop anyone from becoming a PI. With current licensing, you cannot call yourself a PI, advertise PI work, or conduct PI work without a license. But September 1, 2021, everyone can be a PI. Even a 17-year-old with a felony rap sheet can hang a PI shingle. That's right, current licensing has age restrictions and requires a CBI and an FBI background. But hey, that burden will soon be gone. PI licensing also limits or eliminates the ability to use a badge. Why would that be important? So people do not go waving a PI badge around like they are law enforcement. Now, I know there are laws on the books about impersonating law enforcement. But as a PI, I can just put on a nice badge like this one after September 1st, 2021, and walk around and let people think what they may. It says private investigator. I wouldn't be impersonating an officer, and if people think that that badge gives me more authority, who am I to tell them any different? I know I may seem a bit skeptical about Colorado dropping their PI licensing. Heck, I may even take it a bit personal. There was no PI licensing here when I got started, but I'll tell you what, when I saw what PIs could do and what information they had access to, it was a real revelation to me. Now, I do not want government involvement in my life any more than it has to be, and trust me, I don't think the government should have much involvement in our lives at most levels. But when I realized that I could open a PI business for $50, start a website for $10, and get me some business cards for another $10, and then go to the database companies and get access to your social security number, your date of birth, address, employment history, vehicle information, including license plates, financial data, and so many other pieces of personal data, I got a bit worried. With licensing, that helps data companies vet their users. To be sure, they will still vet them, but I am also sure more will slip through the cracks too. I would say many PIs will not see a bit of difference, but I do believe the competition will grow a great deal out there, especially along bordering states. Now PIs are anyone who wants to be a PI in Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, Utah, or anywhere in the world can become a PI here in Colorado. A lot of PIs here are also getting licensed in other jurisdictions too, like neighboring states and cities. That is a huge marketing advantage. I will be able to tell clients I am a licensed professional private investigator and that there is no licensing requirements in Colorado. So those other 1,000 plus people advertising as PIs, well, are they licensed, vetted? Do they understand the laws of being a PI? My license puts me a step above the rest. And yes, folks, there are over 1,000 Colorado PI license holders. In one short month, they will no longer have the burden of being regulated, have to pass a jurisprudence test to ensure they know the PI laws, because there won't be any. They won't have to have contracts. Nope, they can just take the client's cash on a handshake and they can move along. And they will no longer have to have a bond to protect that client from any nefarious deeds that they may decide to perpetrate. Hey, remember folks, remember, stay safe out there.